I, Cheyenne Stevens, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I do swear that I will discharge to the best of my abilities incumbent upon me as a ballot clerk of this meeting according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Maine, so help me God.
Good evening. I'm going to propose an Article 1B, which is to adopt the Maine Moderator's Manual, 7th edition, published in 2021, published by the Maine Municipal Association as the rules governing this meeting. Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. I'm also going to propose an Article 1C, which is, I'm going to propose unanimous consent for those who may be incumbent to speak today, who are not the registered voters or citizens of the town of Madison. Bonnie Levesque, I think Scott Mitchell, if he's here, Jamie Ela, and Nikki Richardson. I'm going to propose unanimous consent. If there's anybody who disagrees with that, just say so. Hearing none, I'm going to say that that is in fact the case, and it is so ordered. So, Articles 1 through 11, to authorize expenditures in cost center categories. Article 1, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. We have a recommended amount of $4,642,514. Do I hear a motion? So move the recommended amount.
So move the recommended amount.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 2, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for special education. Recommended amount is $2,011,750.92. Do I hear a motion?
So move recommended amount.
We have a motion for recommended amount. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 3, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. Recommended amount is $0. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
And we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Taxpayers are making out tonight, huh? Article 4, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for other instruction. Recommended amount is $472,646.61. Do I hear a motion?
So moved recommended amount.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the recommended amount. Do I hear any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes, Denise.
This is $160,000 more this year than last year. Is that because of the ed techs that you were talking about?
What article are we on? I'm sorry.
This is a co-curricular,
Oh, that's because we moved transportation. That is, right, so that's moving transportation from normal, where it wasn't transportation, into sports, among other things. It's also insurance and wages, but the biggest part of that is transportation.
so transportation went down?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 5, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. Recommended amount is $1,045,694.45. Do I hear a motion?
So moved recommended amount.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 6, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for system administration. Recommended amount is $469,507.22. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, recommended amount.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 7, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for school administration. Recommended amount is $842,953.41. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, recommended amount.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the recommended amount. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. It's a vote. Article 8, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. Recommended amount is $634,314.16. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, recommended amount.
We have a motion for recommended amount. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 9, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. Recommended amount is $1,680,119.23. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, the recommended amount.
We have a motion for recommended amount. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
Yeah, it says about the roofs, I thought we paid off the roofs and everything on that. Am I reading that correctly? For geothermal on the roofs? Bond payment for geothermal roofs?
We have a lease and a bond payment that will be, both be paid off in 2030.
They talking about the elementary roof, right?
No, the junior high and the high school roofs,
Oh, okay.
and then the geothermal on the high school.
So geothermal is until 2030?
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 10, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. Recommended is $0. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, the recommended amount.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. It's a vote. Article 11, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. Recommended amount is $0. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, recommended amount.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Articles of 12 through 13 are to raise funds for the proposed school budget. Article 12, to see what sum the school administrative unit will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the school administrative unit will raise and assess as a municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. The recommended amount is set forth below. The total allocation for the town of Madison, state and local, is $7,492,037.99, of which the local contribution from the town of Madison is $2,516,148.33. As an explanatory note, the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount that the district must raise and assess in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, recommended amount.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. It's a vote. Article 13 is a written ballot. To see what sum the school administrative unit will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, recommended amount is $2,932,651.76, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by a recommended amount of $2,932,651.76, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. The school board recommends $2,932,651.76, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $2,932,651.76. The school board gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model. EPS does not fully support all the necessary costs of a comprehensive pre-K to 12 educational programs such as 1, athletics and co-curricular program costs, and 2, transportation for the athletics co-curricular program, and 3, special education costs. Explanation. The additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the school administrative unit's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the district budget for educational programs. Do I hear a motion?
So move the recommended amount.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. Written ballot. Written ballot. And Cheyenne will help expedite that process. I should have come up and done that one.
We just remembered this.
Wired it to you.
Yeah, you wire it into the inverter, which is all these PCs. And then it's just like a tube or something. Into a 30 amp breaker. That's it. It is.
Town Starks didn't require a permit.
No. Madison shouldn't either. Madison all fair.
Our grandson. So there's
So I wish I had more time, I'd probably stay. So, yeah, she's going for freshman year. Yeah, no, it's just brought us all that. It's been a while. Right.
Town meeting board.
Figure out the hourly wage.
I have the results of the voting on Article 13. We had 28 yes votes and 7 no votes. Article 14, which summarizes the proposed school budget. Article 14, to see what sum the school administrative unit will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th of 2026 from the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 20A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidies, and other receipts for the support of schools Recommended amount is $11,799,500. Do I hear a motion?
So moved recommended amount.
We have a motion for the recommended amount. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Article 15, which authorizes expenditures of grant and other receipts. Article 15 reads, in addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other program purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I move yes.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
We have a motion for yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. It's a vote. Article 16, which authorizes transfers among cost centers. Article 16 reads, shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, provided that transfers shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget? Do I hear a motion?
So moved, yes.
We have a motion for yes,
Second.
and we have a second. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, yes.
So this is a vote to say you can take money from any one of those lines and move it to another line without there being a town vote, correct?
We have a question.
So you can move excess funds. You can't just automatically on July 1st say, okay, we're going to take $1 million from teachers and put it into the sports. Whatever, as you get closer like now to the end of the fiscal year, if you realize, like we always did before we moved the transportation to co-curricular, that we were going to overrun co-curricular, we could take money that was left over from transportation and move it there. Just about every year you run into a situation where you had to hire somebody halfway through the year, and you might end up overrunning a line. So any excess funds you have left over from one category can be moved to another.
Yes, Denise.
The limit that says to transfer amounts exceeding 5%. So Tim, are you saying at the end of the year, anything that's over 5%? So
5% is what you're allowed by in state statute. What you're approving is more than 5%. So if you had $100,000 excess in one account, state law says you can only move $5,000 of that $100,000. You're authorizing the district to move a larger amount exceeding what the state allows.
And at what point do you have excess funds? At what point is it recognized as excess? Is it at the end of the fiscal year?
No,
Or any time during
It's
during
as
the
you
year?
come to the end of the fiscal year. So the board will probably have motions if there's any situations like this at the June meeting.
Correct. For example, our budget is built on the people that we employ when we build a budget. So if we have a 20 staff changeover of 20, there's going to probably be a little extra money in instruction. We've always had to move money from instruction into transportation to cover the cost of extracurricular sports. That's just an example. This year we put $10,000 in the current budget, not this one, but the one we're working on, for legal. We've spent $26,000 because of situations that have happened. So that line is going to go over. We're going to have to move money from somewhere to cover that line. We've done it every year. This is the language that we've had every year. It's pretty normal.
So you're not going to exceed what you approved for the budget for fiscal '25
The total budget,
Right.
correct.
We can't.
when you move that, okay?
Right.
And so you're saying, so for fiscal '26, not this June, but next year's June, you would look at that budget and you would say, here's my numbers, I'm over $20,000 here, I'm under
Right.
$15,000 here. Then in the June meeting,
We move
before, like your last meeting of the year, that's when you determine?
money. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And it's only article by article, so you can't exceed the article that you approve. If you approve $4.6 million for regular instruction, you can't exceed that $4.6 million. So you don't have to move money line by line, it's just article by
No,
article.
No, this is,
You have to-
you're moving it within cost
Right.
centers, right?
Right,
So
right.
you can go from one article to another.
Correct. You just
Right.
can't exceed the bottom line.
The $11,799,500. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so going back to transportation being moved to wherever you guys moved it to. So transportation had a reduction of 30,000 and something dollars. Well, the increase on where it got moved to got increased to 130,000. Can we have some more examples on what actually is making it increase another $100,000?
Well,
That's a significant
just
number.
simple examples, I can't give you an exact dollar amount, but I can tell you that any of the officials that we have for all of the sports, their salaries have, wages or amount has increased. So we have to take into consideration for that. We have, some teams that we play farther away some years than we do other years, so it costs us more money for that. This also is all the coaches' salaries and anything that has to do, a piece of our athletic director is in there. So those are reasons why it has increased.
Was you asking about why transportation didn't decrease as much as the sports line increased? That's what I
Right,
understood.
it got increased by $130,000.
And
When
that-
you moved the transportation,
Right.
transportation with 30,000, it did reduce it by 30, but the increase on where you moved it to, I'm not looking at it right
Right.
now.
Right, so
Increased
I'm
by
trying to give you the
130.
reasons, part of it's the fuel that it costs to make the trips and the bus drivers. You gotta remember that our support staff that was not ed techs also got 115% of what minimum wage is gonna be for next year. So there's some increase in there in that. Part of the reason that the transportation didn't decrease as much as curriculum went up is because in that transportation is the bus drivers, the custodians, all those people, a lot of those people have got significant increases in salaries, and then health insurance being 13.8%. Did I miss anything?
Property insurance.
Property insurance was the other one that went up about 20%. So even though we took a whole 100 out of, and put in one, we couldn't take the whole 100 out of transportation. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes.
But you're using less buses for extracurricular activities, they're using vans. So that cost should go down because you're using a van versus a giant bus.
We're still paying the driver the same amount of money that we paid a bus driver, the van
Well,
driver.
the fuel will go down because you're not using a bus, you're using a van.
True. But gas also costs a lot too now, Mary, so.
We do track it, we track the mileage, so we do track the bus mileage and the van mileage, and there are different rates of charges that we figure before we do the physical transfer of funds from one to the other. So we do monitor that.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
What is the purpose or benefit of the article? Are you having to do more than, or came across where you had to do more than 5% in the past years?
There has been a time when we had to do more than 5, yes. Again, it's from year to year, it varies, but this does give us the flexibility to be able to do that, so that we don't have to, for example, if it was sports and we needed to put money in there, we don't have to say come April 5th, we're not gonna have any more sports because we don't have any more money.
Sorry, but wouldn't it come up to a vote though by the town at that point to move the excess of 5%? Or that doesn't happen at all? You just can't move it if we don't vote yes for this?
I don't believe we can move it if you don't vote yes, if we don't have flexibility.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. Article 16 passes. Article 17 establishes and funds an operations and maintenance of plant capital reserve fund. Article 17 reads, shall the school board be authorized to establish a new operations and maintenance of plant capital reserve fund to transfer $300,000 from available fund balances to said capital reserve funds, and to expend said funds during the 2025-2026 school year for unanticipated operations and maintenance costs. Do I hear a motion?
I move yes.
We have a motion, yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. And Article 17 passes. Article 18 authorizes the disposition of any additional state subsidy received. Article 18 reads, in the event that MSAD number 59 receives more state education subsidy than the amount included in its budget, shall the school board be authorized to use all or part of the additional state subsidy to increase expenditures for school purposes in cost center categories approved by the school board, increase the allocation of finances in a reserve fund approved by the school board, and or decrease the local cost share expectation as defined in Title 20A, Section 15671-A1B for local property taxpayers for funding public education as approved by the school board. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So we move a affirmative vote.
Yes.
We have the motion for an affirmative vote. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes.
Can we amend that to say, to eliminate extra expenditures and just leave it at decrease the local cost share?
Are you proposing this amendment?
I propose that as an amendment.
Okay, we have a
Second.
proposed amendment. So you, and so where are we taking out?
For school, be authorized to use all or part of the additional state subsidy to decrease the local cost share expectation as defined in Title 20A.
So you want to delete increase expenditures for school purposes and cost center categories approved by the school board, increase the allocation of finances in a reserve fund approved by the school board, and all.
Correct. That's the amendment.
We have a proposed amendment. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So we're dealing with the amendment first. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes, sir. Richard.
Should they pass this, if the state for some reason or other says, oh, here's some extra money for one of these cost centers, that wouldn't involve any more expense for the local community, if you pass this amendment, you're not going to be able to use that money. Is that correct? So the state says, here's some more money for something, but sorry folks, we'll just send it back to the state. We'll put it in a stamp envelope and send it back.
A couple, 2 or 3 years ago, we got an additional $127,000 from the state after we did our budget. We actually put that money the next year and brought it forward to the taxpayers as additional one-time revenue.
But if the state says it's for one of these cost centers, you've got to either use it in that cost center or you can't use that money. Isn't that correct?
I believe you're correct, but Holly, correct me if I'm wrong.
What if the state decides to give us more funding to cover losses of federal funding that we need to spend?
That could happen.
Yeah.
I think you need to look at Article 15, which allows you, the school board, to receive funds for particular purposes and spend them for those purposes.
And this isn't a new article. This article is here every year. And I can tell you, my 15 years, we never used it to increase the budget. It's only happened 1 or 2 times that we've gotten the money, but that language has been in there over the years to protect us from the things that were just brought up, the what-ifs. If you limit yourself, you take that chance. Not that it's going to happen, you just take that chance. But I can, we never increased because we got extra money. Hey, let's go get an extra teacher, buy an extra vehicle, or whatever. That's what that sounds like, and I understand if it's the first time you've seen it, that you may think that, but it hasn't been done.
Yeah, Jeff?
How is the amended verbiage now?
How does it read right now?
Yes.
In the event that MSAD number 59 receives more state education subsidy than the amount included in its budget, shall the school board be authorized to use all or part of the additional state subsidy to to decrease the local cost share expectation, as defined in the title, so for local property taxpayers.
So right now, if we received 200,000 that was going into the category with special ed, for example, and we had an out-of-district placement that required us to spend 200,000 for that out-of-district placement, we'd be able to use that money where it was authorized to go with the old language. With the new language, we would not be able to do that.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? We're voting on the amendment. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. The amendment is defeated. We're back to the original article as read before. Is everybody clear on where we are? I believe we are. So any other questions, comments, concerns about Article 18 as written and as read? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Down hands, all those opposed. That's a vote. Are we all done? Madam City Clerk?
I believe we are.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second on that. All in favor, please raise your hands and please rise.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, and thanks for all your questions.